So I want to start today by thanking the Foundation Fighting Blindness for the opportunity to speak to you and for their tremendous support for Cycle for Sight. I also want to acknowledge the hard work of my fellow Cycle for Sight committee members, Michael Evans, Dave Sweeney, Craig Spurrell, Martin D'Souza, as well as Foundation staff Dim Long, who got us started, and Jamie Alexanderson, who saw us through to the finish line. The success of Cycle for Sight was truly a team effort. But before discussing Cycle for Sight, I want you to know that it was tough for me to get back on the saddle again, and it still is. I used to be an aggressive cyclist. Red lights were really stop signs. Pedestrians were worth points. And on more than one occasion, I wished I had a few more weapons in my holster than just my bike bell. I was playing with the big boys, just one of the many vehicles on the road, and I acted the part. Then my eyesight started to deteriorate. The Ministry of Transportation notified me that my driver's license was suspended, effective September 9th, 2004. But I knew what the letter said before I opened it. Your vision does not meet ministry standards. I had already made the decision to stop driving before that letter arrived. First at night, then with anyone's children in the car, then only on the long, flat, familiar roads at home in Kent County. Yeah, it made sense at the time. Finally, my license expired, and I knew I would be wasting my money if I renewed it. Sometimes I miss my driver's license, the possibilities it held, but during my adult years, it was really fluff. I had made my life in Toronto, where I could bike everywhere I needed to go. A driver's license wasn't necessary, but a bike was a different story. My bike was my independence. It had a beautiful silver frame with pumped hybrid tires, responsive brakes, suspension seat, and a bell that announced "coming through." I loved my bike. My bike made me a citizen of my new city. It carried my groceries home from Kensington Market, whizzed me to class at Ryerson campus, got me to work at the YMCA, took me out to the bars on College and Church Streets, came along to demonstrations, and explored Toronto Island with me. Realizing that I could no longer ride my bike in Toronto traffic was devastating. Like my vision, it slowly slipped away. First, I stopped riding my bike at night. Then I switched to streets with bike lanes. Eventually, my daily commute became so stressful that I had to stop. That and my spouse Andrew really couldn't see himself as a widower at such a tender young age. So I stopped cycling, and I sold my beloved bike to a friend. I didn't ride a bike for a year. It sucked. Suddenly, I was at the mercy of the transit system, no longer able to get up and go whenever I wanted to, always waiting and waiting and waiting. I started to feel downright sorry for myself. This is not a place I like to visit. So I marched into my neighborhood bike shop, plunked down Mr. MasterCard, and ordered a tandem bike. I wouldn't be able to ride it to work, but at least I could take it to the market and the beach. Then I walked home and announced to my spouse Andrew, Guess what we just bought each other for Christmas? Did I mention I have a very patient spouse? Our tandem bike arrived, all shiny and red. It fit right in with the Christmas decorations. Then Christmas was packed away, and the bike stayed out. It stood in the living room all winter long. I showed it off to anyone who came by. It was kind of hard to miss. And it was a positive opening to discuss my gradual vision loss with friends and family. Then spring came and went, and I didn't have the nerve. 18 months out of Toronto traffic had me terrified. That, and I had never taken the back seat to anything in my life. Riding second saddle in a tandem bike was really the antithesis of me. I picked up a City of Toronto bicycle map and pored over it. I could not allow my new bike and everything it represented to become expensive modern art in my living room. Our first foray out was to the local farmers market. I'll leave it at this. A tandem bike is a surefire way to test a marriage. We failed communication miserably, but I had felt the wind on my face, and that was all the motivation I needed to try again. We laid out some ground rules before the next ride, and we spent the rest of the summer refining our tandem skills along Lake Ontario, the Humber River, Toronto Island, and Leslie Spit. To stretch ourselves further, we hopped aboard the new Via bike train to Niagara Falls and biked from vineyard to vineyard, wine tasting along the way. If you need a motivation to get back on a bike. This past summer, we topped all of that by riding in the Foundation's first Cycle for Sight fundraising ride. All 140 kilometers of it, from Toronto to Collingwood. Out of 50 registered cyclists this first year, 19 of us were people with vision loss, and 20 cyclists rode tandem bikes. We each tapped into our communities to raise over $84,000 for vision research. I'm a member of the Cycle for Sight organizing committee, along with that great group of guys that I mentioned at the beginning, and our committee is comprised entirely of people with vision loss. We approached the Foundation last year to propose the Cycle for Sight fundraising ride. We were inspired by member Dave Sweeney, who had previously bicycled alongside motorcycle riders in the Foundation's annual Ride for Sight. Today, we have heard inspiring stories about groundbreaking research. But, as the Foundation never lets us forget, this research costs money. After the success of Cycle for Sight, I believe that it's people like you and me, the people in this room today, who are going to make this happen. When we organize, we give voice to our experience. It gives us a way to talk to the people in our lives, our families, our friends, our neighbors, our coworkers, our classmates, about our vision loss. Cycle for Sight gives all of these people a concrete way to show support for us and everything we do every day living with vision loss. It's a powerful experience. In their fundraising efforts, the Foundation encourages us to put hope into action. But sometimes with vision loss, it's hard to be hopeful. I want to tell you that's okay. I feel the same way too sometimes. So if you're short on hope at the moment, then put your anger into action. Put your frustrations into action. Put your fears into action. Just take action, because it's through action that you will regain hope. Don't get me wrong, I still miss my own bike. The freedom, the independence. The tandem is an imperfect solution, but it keeps me cycling. I remind myself that a bicycle built for two is better than no bike at all. It's a good metaphor for living with RP. Now, I want you to experience Cycle for Sight 2009 for yourself. Enjoy the video, and at the end of the conference, I'll be waiting at the Cycle for Sight booth outside of the auditorium to sign up each and every one of you. I'm right by the exit. You're not getting by me or the rest of the team. Each and every one of you to either cycle or volunteer in Cycle for Sight on June 19th, 2010. Thank you.